In this video, I want to tell you about my experience with the Elgato Facecam. I actually just recently purchased one. Actually, I purchased two. I'm going to talk to you about why I purchased these and my experience with them and whether or not I'm going to be returning them. But first, I want to introduce myself. My name is Joseph with Flex Lessons, and I normally make content about like piano tutorials and teaching online and some of the tech that's associated with these things. But I figured that this video might be drawing some folks that are not normally from the music space. And that's totally cool because Elgato stuff is actually like really versatile and it works well in many different professions. And I'm sure these face cams are no exception to that. But that being said, welcome if you're new, and if you like music or if you like the tech stuff or whatever, feel free to subscribe. So I wanted to purchase these face cams pretty much the second that they were announced. The Elgato is a company that makes like streaming equipment or whatever, and they're really well known in the gaming space. But really, they're really well known in the content creation space because the same things that make streaming equipment helpful for like game streamers or whatever, it's really helpful for people like me who make a lot of tutorials and things. And so I am pretty heavily invested in the Elgato ecosystem. I'm using two key lights right now. I have a light strip behind my desk. I have, what else do I have? I have the Stream Deck. This is what I'm controlling my recording and scene switching with. And I have a cam link, which is allowing my current camera to be picked up by the computer. And so I think that all of these items that I currently have are amazing, and I will do videos on them another day. I figured that the Facecam would be equally amazing because it's made by the same company, and the company makes the cam link, and the cam link's like a ubiquitous standard for capture cards out there for picking up your camera and running it through your computer and letting it be seen as a webcam. And so I thought that that would make the Facecam a pretty much an instant no-brainer, easy purchase. The problem is it is still a webcam. It's still got a webcam sensor. It might be a bigger sensor than some of the other webcams, but it's not a mirrorless sensor. Now, shame on me for thinking I might be able to downgrade my complicated mirrorless camera cam link setup to something like a Facecam. I did see some videos. I was really impressed with the footage from what some other content creators were making using the Facecam. And so I thought, hey, that actually looks pretty good. That looks pretty close to a mirrorless camera. I wonder if I can at least upgrade the camera that's over my piano right now, which is currently the Logitech Brio. I wonder if I could upgrade that to the Facecam. And I figured that if it was better than the Brio for over the piano, it might actually be sort of equivalent, or maybe not equivalent, but perhaps worth the trade-off in quality for an increase in convenience to use over my mirrorless camera for things like Zoom lessons and some simple content creation, things like that. So what I did was I mounted it over my piano, and I'm sorry I don't have any footage. You're just gonna have to kind of trust me on this because I boxed these things back up. It's a little prelude of what's to come. I am going to be returning these, but I'll tell you why in just a second. So this is the Brio over the piano right now. In fact, I can give you a clear shot right here. I just switch over to this, right? I have a pretty bright piano light over my piano right now. So, and I have it like really squared off. You can see that the edges are really straight. In fact, you should know I'm running my setup through OBS right now, and I use these lines to center things. I have these little lines that I just put into the program that I can use to center my camera. Do you see how straight the keyboard is? From the left, you can't see where my mouse is actually, but from the left to the right side, you can see that it's quite straight, and there's no warping or distortion or anything like that. So it looks very, very good. And so I thought, oh, well, maybe the Facecam can be a more, an upgrade over this. And I didn't take into consideration the field of view. So basically what happened is I plugged in the Facecam, I looked it over the piano at a similar height, and I realized that it had a wider field of view, and typically wide field of view cameras, they have a little bit of warping around the edge. And so I noticed that the piano was not perfectly straight in the image, which unfortunately made it where it's not going to be usable as a piano cam. Now you can zoom in and sort of eliminate that a little bit, but the camera is only starting from a 1080p image, which is the same resolution that I'm going to be actually making my content in. So if I zoom in, that means that there's going to be a loss in quality. The Brio, however, has a 4K sensor. And so when you zoom in on the Brio, which I think I have it zoomed in just slightly, I think I have it set to like the normal 78-degree field of view, which is not the widest one because it's over my piano. The Brio is not losing quality when it zooms in that way, when it crops the field of view. And so, to my surprise, the Brio is very much the obvious choice if you're going to want to run something for a non-warped, non-field of view distorted, clear overhead shot. I think the Brio is a better camera in that sense. And I made a video, I think a couple years ago, talking about why the Brio might be the best webcam. And there's many new webcams that have entered the market since then. And I'm sure some of them are better than the Brio in some way. But the Brio is still very good at this. So I just wanted to mention it. On a side note, the way that I'm running my Brio, looking down at the camera, I have it it's running through OBS, and the image is being flipped and reversed. So normally the camera is going to be looking at the piano like the other way. Like it'll be the left to right orientation will be reversed, and the front to back orientation will be reversed. And so that's something that I can change through OBS. So it's a little bit more of a complicated thing, but I did want to mention it. Okay, so back to the normal camera here. So the use for the Facecam, I actually think, which is definitely what it was designed for, is as a face cam, not as an overhead cam, but as a face cam. So I was actually pretty impressed with the Facecam shot, where I put it right next to my mirrorless camera. And I thought, all right, it still kind of looks like a webcam. And by that, I mean the webcams have like smaller sensors. And so the amount of detail that it picks up, it's more like if you've seen people using like touch up in their photos or whatever, which sort of blurs some of the effects of their face. That's kind of what a webcam looks like compared to a mirrorless camera, except for it's not a touch up, it's a lack of resolution. It's a lack of detail being picked up by the sensor. So next to my mirrorless camera, like directly next to it with the same shot, the Facecam, the Facecam looked like a typical webcam compared to my mirrorless. The difference was so vast that I could not justify finding a use for it. And I'm using a Sony a6100, which is an older mirrorless camera. And this camera is like 4 times the price of the Facecam. So it really should be way, way, way better. It really should. If you think about it, it would be ridiculous that a webcam, something like this, can compete with an actual mirrorless camera and have a better image. That being said, if I didn't own the mirrorless camera, I probably would have gone with the Facecam. And so if you don't own a mirrorless camera, which many of you probably haven't bothered to go that way, because that's got its own little rabbit hole for you to deal with, then the Facecam is actually probably a good solution. It can mount right to your monitor. Unlike other webcams, it's got a little like rotating axis, and so you can get it like angled towards you or your piano or whatever it is you're trying to see, and still have it sit comfortably on your monitor, which other webcams do not do. They will sit flush and face wherever your monitor needs to face. It's also mountable on any kind of arm or quarter 20 thread. It does have a better sensor than a lot of webcams, and it tends to see better in low light. And you can control all of the settings and save it to the camera. Like, that is super, super convenient. I really do appreciate the webcam. This was Elgato's first iteration of a webcam, and I'm kind of excited to see what they might come up with in the future. But that being said, because I already do have a mirrorless camera, because the quality loss was not worth the trade-off in convenience, I would gain a little bit of convenience of being able to go more mobile with my mirrorless camera at the expense of a very large quality drop, just because the mirrorless camera is so much better. It is so much better. So I couldn't justify it in that way, and I also couldn't justify it over my piano because of the warping, where the piano keyboard doesn't look perfectly straight. It's a little rounded, and I can't stand that. So I bought 2 of them just to kind of experiment. I thought I'd probably be returning one. As it turns out, I'm going to be returning both. I don't think it's a bad product. I think if you're looking for something for like a side profile camera and you're using the potato cam in your laptop, you probably should consider something like this. And sometimes the Brio struggles a little bit with color, so this is better than the Brio for color for sure. And it's probably for a non-zoomed in shot, it probably picks up more detail. I did like it. It just doesn't look nearly as good as the mirrorless camera. So if you want a really like professional looking image, you're gonna have to go to something like a mirrorless camera or a DSLR or something like that, which means you got to get a camera and you got to get a cam link. You got to have a way to plug the camera in to power and have it perpetually powered. It's a little bit of a rabbit hole. It's very much worth it if you're doing content like all the time. And so that is the route that I took a while back. And now that I'm going to be returning these cameras, I will remain steadfast in my choices of tech. And I hope that this sort of candid explanation of what I experienced with these face cams was helpful for somebody who is looking at getting a new webcam, wondering if they should maybe save their money for a mirrorless camera or if they should get something like this. And I would say if you're going to create content, if you're going to do some kind of professional work, you need a really professional looking picture. It's something you're going to be paid for. You should get a mirrorless camera and you should save up, and you're not going to notice that you made the expense years down the road, even though it might feel expensive now. But if you're not doing those sorts of things, if you're just making like little recordings here and there, you're not really trying to get paid for it necessarily, you want a really simple experience, something like the Facecam is going to really serve you well. Although I do recommend something like the Brio or a more traditional 78-degree field of view webcam for something over a piano with a straight edge. So anyway, I hope that was helpful to someone out there. And subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. I always post links to these items in my description, and I also post a link to my website, which is like flexlessons/equipment, where I basically go over all of the stuff that I use in my studio. As I mentioned, I'm really into the Elgato stuff, but I'll have also like a bunch of other like mics and cameras and things that you might be interested in learning about if you are in the same space that I am. So anyway, I hope that you find that helpful. I hope you find this video helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.